then I would be able to welcome Marion. Kindly pray for us.
Hi, Steve. Thanks. Okay. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening as we start our session for today. May you be amidst us and guide our thoughts and mind as we discuss this noble cause. I pray all this, believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Marion, for the prayer. At this particular time, I want to introduce our participants of today. And we have people from various organizations coming in. That is from the two major organizations who are partnered to ensure that this is brought to us. That is NetPlus and With Foundation. And also everyone else who's joined us from all quarters and corners of this country and even beyond the borders of this country. We acknowledge your presence and we thank you that you have found time to be with us. So I'll just go ahead and introduce the organizations. And at this particular time, let me welcome Cheryl to talk a little bit on NetPlus. Then we'll have Marion help us talk on behalf of Great Foundation. Then we'll be able to introduce our first speaker, who is Tatu Njaka. Cheryl?
Hello everyone. Thank you, Steve, for the opportunity. Glad to be here. Looking forward to getting some amazing insights. My name is Cheryl Okumu. I am the co-founder of NetPlus. NetPlus is a community-based agency, and what we do basically is talent and skill promotion as a tool to provide economic empowerment to vulnerable groups. Our key focus has been persons who are differently abled and also just addressing menstrual health issues amongst other reproductive health aspects. So we've done a couple of projects, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to partner with GWEF and see how we can take things to the next level. Our goal is to be able to encourage more people to be change makers on the ground by being advocates for the rights of these girls and these women who are not aware or who need help, and not just us as females, but also incorporating the males in this movement, because this is something that affects all of us in different regards, and we all have a role to play. So I hope you'll be enlightened in this session, and stay tuned to the many more that will happen, because this happens every month. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. We really appreciate. Could we then have Marion kindly help us introduce Good Foundation?
Hi guys, welcome to this evening's session. My name is Marion Goya. I'm a co-founder of GWEF, and GWEF is a CBO based in Homa Bay County here in Kenya. So what we basically do is we try to help instill skills and empower girls from the rural areas to be aware of what they are transitioning into. And we also have livelihood programs that support guardians and the community as a whole. So we're just glad that we could do this partnership with NetPlus and become more of change makers in our community. Just like Cheryl has said, I don't want to repeat, but that's basically what we do, and we learn from this. And I'm in to learn a lot from today's topic. So everyone, welcome.
Thank you, Marion. Just to get this wheel going, and even as we've started, then this particular time, I want to introduce or give an opportunity for our speakers to be able to introduce themselves. They wear very big kind of titles, and their work has been really advanced. They are doing a lot in the field of menstrual hygiene and just other fields to ensure that our girls are well, have been built in terms of capacity on issues of menstrual health. So at this particular time, let me introduce Tatu Njaka. Tatu is the program field coordinator at Zana Africa. She has a lot of background in child rights programming, child protection. She deals with issues of gender equality, and she has a huge and a wide experience working in with schools and communities in ensuring that girls get sanitary towels and that reproductive health is achieved within also the quarters of universal health. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Development Studies from Mount Kenya University. She's also a holder of Diploma in Community Development and Project Management from Kenya College of Commerce and Hospitality. She's been in the field for over 15 years, and she has work on issues with advocacy, development work, networking and partnership, has done issues of resource mobilization, has implemented issues to do with mentorship, and has ensured that the community's capacities have been built. So could we please welcome Tatu Njaka. Tatu, karibu.
Thank you so much, Steve. As you already introduced me, my name is Tatu Njaka and I work for Zana Africa as a program field coordinator. And we are doing some work on the ground. Zana Africa unlock the opportunity and support for girls to ensure they manage their menstruation in a dignity manner and with the right information. So basically what we are doing, we are supporting girls with sanitary towels. At the same time, we are empowering them with skills and information where we deliver quality session on sexual reproductive health. So currently we are working, let me say across the country, directly and indirectly. When I say direct, we are implementing our own programs, like in Kilifi County, where we are working in some schools and we are delivering the quality sessions on sexual reproductive health. We are also providing the sanitary towels to the girls in over 10 schools currently. And in these schools, we are not only working with girls, we are also working with boys because the information on reproductive health, it is relevant to both girls and boys. Again, we are working with communities around. That means we are also working with their parents. We are working with other key stakeholders in the children's sector, especially on the area of sexual reproductive health and education. So we have also been working with partners across to deliver our curriculum, the new curriculum, because when we're talking about the sessions, we have actually a curriculum that we are using. So through our partners, we have also reached quite a number of children who are also benefiting with this right information. But as much as they are having pads in school, but still this information helps them to make right decision, to understand what is menstruation, and also get empowered how to deal with issues that are arising as a result of menstruation. So basically, we have a lot, but for the sake of time, let us stop there.
Okay, wow. Thank you, Tatu, for that. We really want to appreciate the work that you're doing with the communities and just being change agents and just ensuring that this society is transformed, and also that the capacity of our young girls are really built in the areas of menstrual health. Now, maybe just to welcome Marie to just introduce herself, and then we will go back to Tatu doing the first presentation after Marie has introduced herself. Karibu, Marie.
I have to mute myself. Hello.
Hi, Marie.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Stephen. You could have introduced me. You know, sometimes I'm like, what am I saying about myself? What am I not saying about myself? So
just
it is
just
an honor. Yes, Stephen.
just touch a little bit on the areas that you specialize in.
Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. Okay, I don't know where the echo is coming from. Is it for me? I don't have no other gadget on. Is it okay?
Yeah, now it sounds better.
Okay. So my name is Maria Banga. I'm from Cameroon. Well, I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I'm a lawyer. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a mental health advocate, and I am the country representative for the Global Mental Health Care Network and also the regional representative for Africa. So I'm also a person with a lived experience of mental illness. So I'm very passionate about mental health matters, and how every other thing that happens in our life can affect our mental health. I've written books, I talk all over the place about it. And yeah, I also like talking about menstruation matters because as a girl growing up, it wasn't talked about in my community at all. And I have a personal experience about how not knowing what to do got me embarrassed and got me into some kind of trouble. So I think that it's very important to talk about menstruation matters, and the earlier we start, the better. That is not only when the girl has started menstruating, but even before, because sometimes some girls don't know what to do. Some have the menstruation kits and pads, they don't know how to use them. Some don't understand their cycles. Some are so embarrassed and ashamed because their brothers or their parents don't talk about it for whatever reason, be it cultural reason, religious reasons, all of that. And those things can affect the girl's mental health. And so we are going to be looking at that. And as a therapist, I've also worked with some young girls who have had problems because they missed their cycle, they didn't understand it, they got stains in school, or they stayed out of school because they couldn't afford. So I'm really excited to look at all of those things. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Marie. That's a lot that you're doing within your field, and we really appreciate you and uh, acknowledge the work that you are doing within the field. So at this particular time, let's just dive in and welcome Tatu, who is our first speaker of the day. To continue, I'm kindly asking that the questions can just be sent via our chat box, so that once she's done with the presentation, then we'll give her a chance to be able to answer some of the questions that and comments that you'll be our participants will be putting across. Karibu sana Tatu.
Hi, Mario.
Tatu.
I'm waiting for Mario. Hello, Mario.
Hello, Tatu, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm talking to Mario.
Hi, Tatu. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm fine.
Floor is yours.
Okay, I'm waiting for the presentation now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good. Mhm. Okay. Yes. I think I can go on now. So, as I mentioned earlier, I have a small presentation just to share on mental state of menstruation health today with all of us. Next slide. Okay, so we'll start with the definition. When we talk of mental health, this is basically our physical, our mental, and our social well-being, not necessarily the absence of diseases. So again, menstruation, if we need to understand menstruation, it is a simple blood process that is releasing blood from our bodies, that is the uterus to the vagina as part of menstrual cycle. And this happens to women, and it marks a significant stage in the development and maturity of the adolescent girl. So menstruation is something that is not new. We are discussing today because we have an opportunity, but it has been there all along, and it's biological and natural process that all of us should know and we should embrace and appreciate for that. Next slide. Yeah. So when this thing comes with its own challenges to the girls, for example, there are those that we see as emotions and the social dynamics that girls may go through about this time because their bodies are changing, they don't know what to do, they have some feelings, and sometimes they may even not know whom to talk to at this time. So it becomes a challenge to them, and it also puts them in a vulnerability state, especially in the communities where there's so much expectation. In fact, in some communities, these girls at this age will be expected to marry. These girls at this stage should be expected to do some works that are not aware of, but just because they're menstruating, the situation has changed. There's also pressure from schools that they should perform well. Despite the challenges, no one has focused, but still these girls are expected to perform well. So at this level, you realize this particular child has got so much in her mind that she needs to do on top of the menstruation. Next slide. Yeah, so when we're talking menstruation, the next issue we need to bring in or we need to understand it is now how do we manage menstruation. So menstruation health and hygiene management become very key. It is very important. How do we talk about menstruation? And for this case, we'll not only talk about managing menstruation with the products, but we should also consider other factors that encompasses around menstruation health management. So anytime we're talking about menstruation management, we should also focus the health of these children or the health of the menstruator, in that this person should be in good health, should be eating well, should have proper standards of hygiene, should have products that she can manage her menstruation in a dignity manner. And their well-being, that is the environment. They should be in a good environment, they should be happy. And again, gender equality should also be discussed alongside menstruation health management. And when we are talking of gender equality, we are talking things like at this level, the girls or the menstruators, that is all the females, should have facilities, should have rights that are considered fair to them in terms of opportunities, in terms of resources, should be provided to them equally. Because there are times, because of their gender or because they are menstruating, some opportunities will not be provided to them equally. Again, because of menstruation, we also need to have proper information. And this information is through education. Girls need to understand the biology of menstruation. If it happens, how do I deal with it? Whom do I talk to? If maybe simple issues like menstruation pain, how am I supposed to handle myself? Then the issues of equity, just the fairness, like the resources again. Maybe in schools where we're having that, let's say we are having 8 toilets. Instead of saying that maybe we divide them equally, we should provide them based on the need. Maybe we can choose to have like 6 for girls and 2 for boys. That to make sure, even if they are menstruating, but they are also handling their menstruation in a proper manner. Then again, the discussion on menstruation should also include empowerment. Empowerment at this level, we are talking of the girls themselves to understand who they are, to understand what they need, and take it upon themselves to speak about their issues, to speak about the changes that comes in because of menstruation. Like I just mentioned earlier, maybe there are those expectations in the community. Because you are menstruating, it means you're already a mature woman, you should get married, or you should drop out of school, you should be in a sexual relationship. So this girl can say no, and she cannot say no unless she's empowered with the right information and right skills to do that. Then the discussion on menstruation should also include the rights and responsibilities, that these girls should know their rights as they are menstruating, as girls. What are their rights? What are their responsibilities at this time? Maybe they should also have a responsibility to take care of their own bodies. They should also have a responsibility to speak up when issues affecting their sexual rights are violated, because this is the time that you realize some of these girls will end up being abused. So they should not keep quiet, but actually their rights should be promoted and it should be protected by all. Next slide. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, menstruation is not a new discussion. It has been there since time immemorial. And during that time, people had many different ways to manage menstruation, but the most important is to manage menstruation in a proper and dignity manner. So there are various products that are used to manage menstruation. And when I'm talking about these products, I don't mean these ones are better, these ones are not better, these ones are for the good people. But the most important, someone should ensure they promote the menstruation health, proper management of their menstruation, but should also consider accessibility of this material, and also depending on their own values, whether they like to use them or they don't like to use them, it is their choice. For example, we have the reusable pads, a pad that you can use when you're menstruating, and when it is soft, you can just remove it, wash it, and make sure you dry it well, and you can use it another time. We also have disposable pads. The disposable pads are also good. These are one-off pads. You can use it up to a maximum of, let's say, 6 to 8 hours. But again, depending on your flow, you can decide when to remove it, but still maintain high standard of hygiene and the proper way to dispose. Because again, we need to protect our environment. There are also other products like the tampons. Tampons are finger-like products. So again, based on your value, you can use the tampon and just manage your menstruation, which is okay. It is just like a finger, you just insert it, and then when you feel it is soft, you can remove, clean yourself, and replace. Then we also have a menstrual cup. The menstrual cup just looks like a small cup. It is made of a silicone material, which is body friendly. Again, you can use it to manage your menstruation. For this one, you can stay for the menstrual cup even up to 10 hours. Once you feel it is full, you can remove, you wash, and replace. So we also have our own homemade pads. You can use an old piece of cloth, you can wash it, and then make sure it is well dried up, and then use it. So depending on accessibility, availability, and even your own value, but the bottom line, you should manage your menstruation in a dignity manner to promote your own health. Next slide. Yeah, so despite the availability of the menstruation health product, still there are challenges. Not everyone can access the material. For example, when these young people or the people who are menstruating lack the products, what will happen? Their health and safety is put into a situation that is compromised, because at this time now they can use anything, because maybe a girl doesn't want to miss school. She can choose to take anything, even if it means a piece of mattress, just to manage their menstruation, which is not good at all. Then there are issues of school attendance, although the evidence here is mixed, because we have other factors that are contributing to school attendance. Maybe children are missing out of school because of menstruation, although there are many other reasons that may cause the same girl not to attend school. Maybe others are not coming to school because they have painful periods, or they don't have the sanitary towels, among other issues which will affect their school attendance, and of course the performance will not be good, and in the process they may even drop out of school. Then the issue of shame and stress. Some of them are afraid. When I go to school, I have menstruating. In case I stain my skirt, people will laugh at me. People look at me badly. So they decide to keep off. This is a challenge that makes the whole menstruation, which is a biological process, a challenge to many young girls. And there are these social sanctions. Most of these are just accompanied by the means we have in our own communities. Because you are menstruating, you are restricted to perform some duties, some activities. So it created the whole issue of discrimination, gender inequality. So he feel like a human, okay, or rather a woman is not worthy. So she feels like I should not be there, I should not participate, I should not contribute in this manner. Because not all of them are accessing the material, and maybe they desire in their hearts to have good products like sanitary towel. They can even end up having transactional sex for sanitary pads. We've had so many cases of sex for pads. For example, just a recent study in Western Kenya shows that 10% of these girls, they get their pads after selling their body. Again, we said this is a natural biological process, but it has now become like a vice affecting their own lives. Now, another issue is a greater risk of teenage pregnancy, sexual transmitted infection, and HIV. If someone is exposed to sex, maybe they don't have right information, so they'll end up having such challenges. Next. Yeah. So the effect of their mental wellness. Now, poor menstruation health management puts girls and women at disadvantage, such as limited knowledge and poor access to safe and affordable methods and material, and consequently interfere with their mental well-being. For example, it will result to poor or low self-esteem, because it's like, I don't know what to do, so I can do anything as long as I get the pass, and that is interfere with their self-esteem. Again, child marriages. So at a tender age, they end up getting married, not by choice, but by circumstances. They push and pull factors that will subject them. Then the issues of gender-based violence come in, because they are women, then they end up being abused sexually, and we know that is a form of GBV. As a result of this, again, you realize they are affected mentally, because now they end up in conflict, because they start a conflict with their own values. Maybe they know as a girl, I should not engage in premarital sex, but because I cannot access the sanitary towel, I have no choice. I'll just sell my body and get the pads. Maybe they're also being stressed. Now they're stressed. They have pressure at home, they have pressure at school, and maybe they don't have even a safe space to share their anxiety and fear and depression. So this one in all affect their mental wellness. Then managing menstruation in a different manner, among others, because when they don't have this, they can do anything. So as a result, we've seen cases of children, or rather adolescent girls and youth, having UTIs, vaginal infections, diseases, and also, even when they have them, they don't have the safe space. They don't have people to share with. So they battle this disease, and some of them have greater impact in their lives in future. Inadequate menstrual sanitation. We are aware, especially in the rural areas and in slum areas, we don't have adequate sanitation facilities, like the toilets. Maybe 10 households are using one toilet, so it's like you have to wait, or maybe you have to pay for you to use the facility. So you realize it just brings you some sort of trauma, like, now what am I supposed to do? How do I keep myself clean? So inadequate of those facilities keep girls in a situation of mental wellness being disturbed. Then lack of inadequate access to reliable reproductive health information. So because most of our facilities are not youth-friendly, or they are not child-friendly, where girls can just walk in and just find out or ask some questions. Many times you have to go, maybe accompanied by your mother, or you have to miss school to go and get such services. For example, there are cases nowadays which are rising up. I don't have data, so I won't comment in terms of numbers, but we've had cases where children have severe pain during their menstruation. But most of us, we have just taken it for granted. We just tell girls it is normal, it is normal. And when they grow up, they realize they have serious medical condition, which were not tackled early enough. So that one in itself affects their mental wellness. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, thank you. Now, there's so much we've heard about menstruation, but it's still as people working to promote the sexual reproductive health education and rights for the youth and children, I have some few recommendations that we need to consider, both as the organization, even with our governments, that can put in place to ensure our girls go through menstruation in a proper and dignity manner. For example, menstruation health and hygiene management must be built into our health emergency responses, including during this COVID-19 pandemic. That if you go to hospital, if you go to anywhere there where you are looking for services, the issue of menstruation health, it should not be like an extra or something should not be heard of, but it should go hand in hand. And then we should also prioritize the needs for marginalized people, like people living with disability, poor girls from poor background, especially from slums and rural remote areas. Like people with disability, many times we've been working with children. Okay, let me use this word, normal children. Normal children is like now those children who can hear, those children can see. But at the same time, we are having children who have challenges. They are living with disability. They don't talk, so they don't know whom to speak to. Maybe they need this safe space to talk about menstruation, but most of us, we are not able to reach them. So we assume they'll manage their own way. So it is very important to prioritize their needs, and also the poor girls from poor background. For example, in Kenya, there are over 5 million girls who are menstruating, and that is from the age of 10 to 19. But again, out of these, 2.6 are depending on donation. They are depending on schools. So if, like now, they're not going to school, so you are wondering, where do they get the pads to manage their menstruation? So it's something we need to prioritize in terms of budget, in terms of programs to make sure they are also made. Then provide right-based education on the practices of menstruation health to all girls and youth, as this will help them to manage their own menstruation. That is in terms of information, in terms of skill, because they'll know when and where to seek their help. Instead of just seeing our girls staining their skirts in school, doing all manner of negative things, and we laugh at them. But when they have right information, they'll make right decisions. Could it be out of this education, they'll also be able to manage issues like anger, stress, child pregnancies, because they have information, other than waiting for us to just react when they are pregnant, they are out of school, or they're in relationships that we don't approve. Then we should provide gender-sensitive and inclusive response services. We should also ensure that our services are gender-sensitive. Like if this girl has to go to school, for example, their issues should be addressed as girls. If they are going to a hospital, maybe they should also be addressed as girls. So wherever they are going, the issue of gender sensitivity should be put in place. And not only in terms of services, but again, even in terms of budgeting and programming. Next slide. Yeah, so as an organization, we have done some of this work, and we have a lot of experience to share, especially from the field of Kilifi. We have our own school programs where we are delivering life skills education to over 3,600 adolescent girls and boys across the 10 schools. So we are having these sessions in schools, and for this one, we are working with both girls and boys. As I mentioned earlier, sexual reproductive health is not a female affair. It is both male and female, important discussion to learn and understand. So during the sessions, like in the afternoon, after classes, we have girls and boys sitting in the sessions and learn through our curriculum. And we have also been providing pads in those schools to all menstruating girls. That means not girls in class 4 and above, as many of us would assume, but where we are working because of late enrollment, we have girls as low as class 1 who are already menstruating. So we have been providing sanitary towels every month, plus panties. And for those girls who are not maybe able to attend the sessions, we've been having short sessions where we just share, because at this age, of adolescents with these issues of menstruation, they have many questions, and maybe they don't have people to talk to, right from school, even at home, because menstruation is not a cup of tea for many houses to be consumed. So we talk to them, we tell them about menstruation health management, we teach them life skills, that how they can manage themselves, how they can get empowered, and how they can achieve their goals, despite the fact that they are girls and maybe the community or society may look at them otherwise. Next slide. Yeah. Then through our partners, we have also delivered our curriculum, and we have reached quite a number because that is across the country. We have partners who are implementing similar programs, and we have trained them to train their adolescents to have this right information through our Nia Yetu curriculum. That is the manual we are using. Then in terms of social and behavior change communication, Zan Africa developed comics and visual content for adolescents so that they can have something to read, because what is lacking is information. So this information is developed and customized in a friendly manner that girls can read and answer many of their questions that are challenging them, including questions on menstruation, issues of decision making, issues of relationships, issues of stress, anger and management, among others. Then we also support adolescents and adults to receive health services they need through our partnership. So we are working with other partners because, as I mentioned earlier, we are working in limited area, and so far maybe we have this, like, since we started, like maybe 50,000 plus, but still through partnership, we have other partners who are also responding to some of these issues. For example, we have the Ask Antigen. So if a girl has any question, their contacts are here. We'll share maybe later. Has a question, they can ask and they'll be answered. These questions will be answered in a proper way. And I just want to assure anyone who would want to reach them that it is safe space. They will not judge you, but they'll actually help you. And they are toll free. We also have Mom's Village. This is where the adults now can ask issues regarding to family planning, because we have maybe you want to use a certain family planning, you don't know how to go about it. So they'll definitely ask you, or rather they'll guide you what to do. And then we also have the VIVs. They also have some information. So maybe at the end of the session, if you allow me, I'll share the contacts with you. So in case anyone has a question and we are not able to reach us as Zana, you can definitely go through the partners and you'll be answered. Next question, or rather, next slide. Okay, thank you. Let me end there for today, but in case you have any question that I'll not be able to answer in this forum, I understand because of time, you can still reach me via email, that is tattoo@zanaafrica.org. Zanaafrica is one word, or you can email info@zanaafrica.org. We are also on Facebook, that is Niayangu Care, that is Kenya. Niayangu, N is capital, Y is capital, KE is capital. You can still repeat us again, Yangu Nia. Y is capital and N for Nia is smaller. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I believe we have learned something. And if there's any question, any clarification, I'm willing to respond.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Tatu. That has been very tremendous. And we really appreciate you for taking us through that presentation. There are a few questions that have just come in. Probably you can just take like 3 or 2 minutes to be able to answer this. And the first question has come from Mary Obiese, who is asking, does tampon or the cup have side effects? Then we also have Irene Atieno asking, do we have social platform where girls can visit to get the right information on menstrual health? Yeah, where girls can get menstrual health information. So kindly quickly just respond to that before I welcome Marion to welcome our second speaker.
Thank you very for that question. In terms of tampon and pads, as we have shared in our presentation, they are there. Maybe they may have side effects or they may not have side effects because we are unique, we are individual. What is working for you, it may not work for another person. Remember again the issue of value, the issue of accessibility, any other issue, depending on you. If you feel this one affects me, you don't need to stick to that material. You can use another one. But I cannot tell you right outright, tampon can bring some infection or the cup. Anything, if you are not practicing proper hygiene, it will bring infection. Even the sanitary pad, the normal pad, if you are not clean, you'll get infection. So just ensure cleanliness and again look at your body, talk to your body, feel your body, and you choose what to use. And in terms of social platforms, uh, I've shared our Facebook. You'll share it again, see for me, so that it's very clear. The Facebook page, so that I can talk to that lady more. Just share the address, not just share the address better. But I know there are many platforms. Ghana Africa, we have that platform. Talk to us, we talk to you. Our partners, as I've mentioned, they have the platform. Ask Antigen, plus many others.
Wow, thank you, Tatu. That was Tatu Mjaka from Zana Africa, and we appreciate that you've been able to respond to those questions. And thank you also as well for your presentation. We want to believe everyone has learned something, and we are going to go out there to just bring a positive change on the world of menstrual health. So at this particular time, let me welcome Marion to be able to help us introduce the second speaker and also just help in moderating the second session. Karibu, Marion.
Hello again. Thanks, Steve, for welcoming me again. And I think the presentation has got a lot of insights, and I've learned very important thing that Kenya, we're going to a different environment as well right now, because we can, through Tatu's presentation, you realize that we also have a toll-free line. Most of the time, we only hear about toll-free from the US and these developed countries. So I think this is very interesting and we should take note on that. And we are going to share the information as we end our session. So this session, we're going to have like a Q&A session with our second speaker. It's not going to be a presentation. And I'd just like to call upon Marie to be ready. Marie Abanga is from Cameroon, and we're going to talk about the psychotherapy part of our presentation today. And this is very interesting. And I'd like our participants and everyone to be attentive so that you can comment and have your questions ready. And welcome, Marie.
Welcome. Oh, no. Thank you, Marion. Yes, I didn't prepare a presentation per se because I want to keep it very practical and I want to keep it real. Whenever I talk, when I have a personal experience, I use it so that people can relate and then be able to see for themselves how it can affect them and how they can help themselves and other people, right? So that's why I didn't do a presentation, but I would want to look at, first of all, the idea that menstruation is not an unclean thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a sin. It's not a crime, you know. For me, it's like, how can we even shame the very thing that brings everybody to the world? You know, if a woman doesn't menstruate, then the woman has some problems with her fertility, with her reproductive system. That's why it is like, it should be celebrated when a child starts menstruating, but it's more of like we should hide. And that's where the stigma starts from. So talking about it, It's very important. It is very salutary. And in my house, I have 3 boys, so I don't have a daughter. And there is no hiding of anything. They buy the pads, I send them. They take one for me from the room when my period starts unexpectedly. I'm in the toilet. Who else can I call? The boys. I talk to them about it. I don't hide my pad. I post it on Facebook. I talk about menstruation everywhere. And it also helps me not to consider it as something to be ashamed of. If I walk around and I see somebody tells me, oh, you have a stain, I'm not going to start making like that and then start tying myself up and start saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. No, why? It's a normal thing. Look, menstruation is a cyclical discharging of blood, secretions, and tissues from the uterus that recurs in non-pregnant breeding age premate females in approximately monthly intervals. So it is a normal cycle. You have the accumulation in your body, and then if you don't get abuse of the egg forms, and then if the egg is not fertilized, then it has to be discharged. It happens in the body of the woman, and so it happens on cycles when your hormones, when you get to a certain age, then you start menstruating. Now, one thing we need to know is that when a child doesn't have the right information, when they start menstruating, they might start being so scared about what is happening to them. They might think that, oh, this is a shameful thing. It's a sin. Sometimes some people will say, oh, the Bible says when a woman is menstruating, she's unclean, so she should be kept in some place. In some communities in India, I'm in a group, World Post, some sisters say how one child died because she was kept in the village hut. There's a hut there for 2 weeks. When you are menstruating, you stay there. They dig a hole, and you sit on that hole throughout. That's where you menstruate until you finish, and you sleep there. So you can even be attacked by wild animals in that place. They just come and put the food there. You are treated like an animal. Imagine they take you, you start menstruating, they take you out of school. That's in those communities where they cannot even, they don't know nothing. They cannot buy the pad and all of those things. So they take you out of school, you stay there for 2 weeks, you are ostracized, you start feeling so terrible, you start feeling like everybody is rejecting you. And then the next month, the same thing, the next month, the same thing. In the end, you can lose your mind. So menstruation can really affect a woman's mental health, a girl, especially the young girl, who is already struggling with self-esteem issues, who is already struggling with self-identity issues, who is just struggling with some awareness about what life is all about. Now there's the menstruation, now there are the hormonal imbalances, the moods are affected. Maybe as the speaker before me said, you don't even have the money, so you might have to go out with some man. I think Calvin even told me about one girl who went out with different bike riders. I think you call them Okada people, just to get money to buy the pad. And then in the end, they got pregnant and got infected. Can you just imagine, like, because of menstruation and not having access to sanitary products or like even the support from the society, you find yourself now dealing with so many other challenges. And during periods like this, COVID, the stress already from the pandemic, adding now to the stress of maybe not having pads or maybe being ashamed of menstruating, or maybe the way people are treating you, considering you to be a burden, maybe in some families, because, well, they don't spend money on boys every month to buy them pads. And pads are not given for free, whereas condoms are given for free in some places, but pads are not given for free. So now if there's no money to buy the pads, there's no money, you don't even have a towel you can cut to use, you don't have any fabric, there's no toilet roll, there's no, there's no information, no organization you can go to who can help you. Some people I read a story of a girl who got so depressed to the point where she committed suicide because she was saying to herself, how can I spend the rest of my life going through this every month? And I personally used to have such a painful cycle. At one point in my secondary school year, they would give me injections every month just to help me with the cramps. Even in my adult age, 3 months ago, I had to take medication. You know, sometimes I was taking suppositories. I used both a pad and a tampon. Sometimes I have heavy flows. You know, those things can affect your mood. They do affect. There are times when, oh my God, 3 days before the period, I am just nervous and all of that.
Hi, Marie. It's like we've lost you and we are just getting started. So what Marie is trying to do right now is to answer our questions on can trauma affect menstrual health, and how does period shaming affect teenagers psychologically? That's where the suicidal thoughts come in, and that's where maybe if this particular teenager doesn't have maybe funds to buy sanitary pads, they can exchange their body with older men, and you know the consequences are so much more. Not only pregnancies, but then contracting other STIs and everything that is negative, and their life, the circle of their life, kind of remains stagnated. And as we are here, we're just trying to find ways on how to deal with these traumatized teenagers due to menstrual health issues. And I believe in this forum, those who have logged in are adults. And on our last session, I just realized that we tried to sensitize our audience so that when we have such sessions, you can assemble some few teenagers like boys or girls, because it's during COVID, we can't go to schools. So even if your neighbor has got like a teenager, you can assemble them and spread the news so that when we have such a session, they can be around you and we listen together as we have, as we do awareness to the whole society. Because if we only sensitize girls, what about the boys? They won't understand what's happening, and that's a problem. That's what we want to demystify. And I think our speaker has just left. I don't know what's wrong. I think her network is having problems, and when she comes, she can finish. But for now, I'd like us to have questions on the chat box. We are talking about mental effects, mental wellness in regards to menstrual health. And if you have got any comment or question, you can just write it in the chat box and we will respond to them. And Tatu, there is some noise coming from your side. May you just mute? Steve, I think, oh, Marie's back. All right.
Yeah, what happened? I'm sorry.
I don't know, you dropped, and we're just trying to find
It just
ways on
went
how
off.
we can deal with traumatized situations among our teenagers.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that was basically what I wanted to say. So now I'll be answering any questions.
Yeah. If you've got a question and you'd like to talk, you can just let us know and give you time, or you can just chat it on the chat, or you can just write it on the chat box.
And Marion, if you have questions to, what we had discussed, maybe I could just be talking about that. And if any question comes
Yeah.
up, I could answer that. So I remember
Yeah.
you asked me 3 specific questions, right?
Yes. I asked you about, can trauma affect menstrual health? Can it affect, like, maybe if a teenager is already experiencing their menstruation,
Uh-huh.
can they like get affected through trauma? And trauma can be so many things. Maybe they were bullied in school during their the very first experience on menstruation. So
Uh-huh.
can this affect their menstrual health as they grow?
Yeah, trauma can affect your menstrual health, your menstrual hygiene, and when it affects your menstrual hygiene, I think that is your mental health again being affected. First of all, trauma is already something that is affecting your mental health. And trauma can be physical, trauma can be emotional. Uh, the COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdown, is traumatic. It's causing a lot of distress in people. It is not the virus that is making us scared as much as the uncertainty of what can happen, how long it would happen. We don't know for how long we will have to be wearing masks to go all over the place. And so we are all getting anxious and nervous. You can get into an accident and that leaves you either paralyzed or that keeps you in the hospital for months. That is a trauma, and that can affect your menstrual health because your body is going to respond to it. And a menstrual cycle, that is why you have a period for the cycle. Some cycles you call them regular cycles, 26, between 26 to 28 days. Some cycles are not regular, some cycles are too long. So our bodies respond differently to what happens in our bodies. And remember, our brain is part of our body. So what happens to our brain can also affect what happens in the rest of our body. So if you go through a traumatic experience, let's say an accident, let's say a parent dies suddenly, and maybe that parent was your only breadwinner in the family. You don't even know where you're going to have food to eat the next day. Your body contracts, and so your period can also stop. There were times I stopped menstruating for like 3 months, and I was concerned, and I was like, am I pregnant? But I am not slept with nobody. So I was like, oh my goodness, could this be immaculate conception? I was like, I'll go to the hospital at the end. Don't laugh. It's just 3 months, like 4 months ago. I was like, I have to go to the hospital. But and then I prayed and I fasted for 3 days, and then the period came. So this is like, I'm talking things that happened to me and at my age, right? If it happened, just imagine for a young girl. I was so traumatized with the outbreak of the measures, the lockdown, and as a mother with the children and everything. And then I'm already getting old, so my period is not more as heavy or constant. And then now trauma sets in, and I already live with post-traumatic stress disorder. So my whole system just goes through an imbalance. And for 3 months, I actually thought I was pregnant. And I was praying and wondering, oh God, what happened? So
Yeah.
yes, trauma can affect your menstrual period, the stress of the trauma. If you were in an abusive marriage, I was once in an abusive relationship, and then you leave, the trauma of what you went through and what you are going to face now, because there's so much uncertainty also in what you are going to face outside there now as a single woman. At the same time, there was so much trauma brought about by what you went through that can make your period, your cycle to just freeze, sometimes even for up to 6 months. You might even have to
Yeah.
go and take medication to induce that cycle. And so you can get so worried, like, what is happening to me? So for a young girl, it's the same thing. Anything can happen to you, and then your system reacts, and then yes, your period is affected. Either it becomes too heavy, or it stops flowing, or it comes even 2 times a month. Some people have periods which come 2 times a month, and that's so embarrassing, especially when you cannot even afford the
Yeah.
parts and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and right about now, in the rural areas in Africa, actually,
Mm-hmm.
during this pandemic, people are so affected. Even the parents and guardians are very much affected. And there is a
Uh-huh.
report going around that guardians and parents, they no longer want problems with their teenage daughters. They
Uh-huh.
want to marry them off so that the economic status, because economic status right now is very pathetic. People have lost jobs, businesses have
Yeah.
closed down. So they'd rather just give out their daughters for marriage
Oh
because they
no.
can't afford to feed them, to buy pads. If you can't afford to feed someone, of course you can't buy pads because it's a luxury in
Sure.
many rural areas. And they're being married off to very old people. And these people, they might even be infected with so many diseases. So it's kind of tricky and very sad. So we're just trying to create awareness on this because girls are our future and boys are our future as well. And I can see some questions are coming in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, uh, how does period shaming affect teenagers psychologically? Coming from a psychotherapist like you, Marie.
Yes, I would talk from experience again. I had a young girl who had been raped because I also work with girls who have been raped, with children who have been raped. And then she was raped actually because she left school when her period started in school, and her friends were laughing at her and saying, look at what embarrassment is this? It's so shameful. How can your mother send you to school without putting a pad inside your bag? And so she left school and she was going back home and she was crying. And so some guy, stopped by and said, oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you going to? And she just told the guy. And the guy said, oh, don't worry, menstruation, that's okay. And then the guy carried her and said, okay, I will take you home. And instead of taking her home, he raped her. And yes, so you have the embarrassment of the period shaming and then the trauma of the rape. And so she was completely disoriented. Like she just lost her mind, and she was so angry towards her parents. She was so ashamed. She was so scared of people. She didn't want to go back to school. So her parents brought her to me to help her. At that time I was working at the hospital, and I worked with this girl for over 1 year. Like one thing led to the other, one thing led to the other. So period shaming is not good. That is why I'm an advocate on social media. I have a girl who has a campaign called Be Period Positive, and I joined her campaign. I'm like, we should not shame people for menstruating. That's why I started by saying menstruation is a normal thing. It's not a sin. It's not a crime. So
Yeah.
why should you shame somebody for menstruating?
Quite, that's a very good question. And just going back to our audience, we have questions arising. And one is Dedan Omondi is asking, how can we reduce menstrual cramps or dysmenorrhea when it unfortunately occurs to a poor girl who cannot access proper medical assistance?
Can you imagine now? That is why organizations like the first speakers one are very important, because uh, we know that government or social services should provide those kind of services. But I don't know about your country, but in my country, those services are not provided like that. So it's very challenging. And then those things, I want to tell you that some of those things are also caused by stress from the environment, stress from your home. Like I remember growing up, I also grew up in a difficult home. So there were times when I was so stressed and I would have terrible cramps that month. I even remember 3 months ago when I had terrible cramps. That was when I was also very stressed because of the pandemic and stuff. But last month I didn't have. So some people's systems just get worked up when menses are starting. For example, people who live with some life-threatening illnesses like sickle cell, because of the blood they lose so much. So their systems go through much more pain than other systems. But what can we do? We can really, sometimes even just the social support, can help your body to relax much more than when there's no social support.
Yeah, and actually that is why we formed GWET as a CBO, which is working with the rural area communities.
Mhm.
So what we do is try to find these poor girls, not poor per se, let me use from underserved communities, so that we can work with them in this journey. Yeah. So, and the next question comes from Sami. Sami has got two questions, and one is: apart from stress or trauma, delaying one's period can it cause it to occur earlier than expected?
Apart from what? Stress and
Stress
trauma.
or
Uh-huh.
trauma, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Delay, like stress and trauma delays one's period.
Yeah.
I, yeah. So can it cause it to come earlier than expected?
Of course, it can cause it to come earlier as well as it can delay. That is true. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes when you are stressed, you can be anxious and you can overeat, for example, right? Some people,
Mm-hmm.
when they are stressed, they don't eat. Some people, when they are
Yeah.
stressed, they cannot stop eating. So it is the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with our body. It reacts differently, you know. And so sometimes you are stressed, and instead your body relaxes and releases the blood earlier than normal. And sometimes no, it doesn't. So yes, we need to watch our mind, our mental well-being, so that everything
Mm-hmm.
stays normal, because that is what mental health is all about, a state of normal wellness. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. And Sami is still asking another question. And is it normal for a lady to experience the cycle in a span of just 2 weeks apart? And
Mm,
I think
mm,
before you respond, I think some of the things like cramps or dysmenorrhea, sometimes
mhm.
it might not be cramps, it might be endometriosis, because right now the disease is taking over and many women are experiencing it, but until you are diagnosed, you can never know what you're suffering from.
Yeah, that is true. So that's why I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted to say that it will be good to go to the hospital if you can go to the
yeah,
hospital. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right, so what about the last question? Is it normal for a lady to experience the cycle in a span of just 2 weeks apart? They
No,
should.
that's not normal. 2 weeks is what, 14 days, right?
Exactly, which
I
is
think a normal cycle is what, 20, 26. So if it's 22, we could say, well, but when it's below that, then it will be good to, yes, to consult the doctor.
yeah, exactly. All right, so that's all the questions we've got. Steve, do you want to take it over or?
There was a third question. You remember, Marion?
Yeah, oh, the third question. I thought you responded for it. Okay, the third question is, what can we do in dealing with traumatized teenagers due to menstrual health?
Yes, it's very important once again to realize or to remember that menstruation is not a bad thing. Menstruation is not a sin. Menstruation is not a crime. If we talk to our young ones, I buy a big packet of pad, like the whole packet like that in my house, and I put it up. And anybody who wants it, because I live with my junior sister, she knows where she can get it. You know, just go and take the pad there. Nobody should be, no young person should feel ashamed for menstruating. I think that is what we all should do. And if we do it, imagine everybody is getting that information and everybody is talking about it. And then the young ones will hear and know that no, it is not a bad thing. So they shouldn't be ashamed. Okay, now the ones who are already traumatized because of it, maybe because they're so embarrassed, they cannot afford the sanitary pad, because I'm talking like somebody who can afford. What about the young girls who cannot afford? They are going to feel so embarrassed. So we can
Yeah,
find other ways to, you know, to, for them to manage their hygiene. You must not use a pad. I think the first speaker talked about, for example, I don't know, the cup, and there are some organizations which offer those cups for free. You can even use a towel, right? You can use, just know that it is not a bad thing and that there are other options. I really wish that people don't remove children from school when they're menstruating, because sometimes it's like people are so embarrassed that the children are menstruating and then they remove them from school. And that parents, we need to advocate. Parents should stop treating girls, especially girls who are menstruating, like they're such an embarrassment. Like you said, parents who marry their children up because they cannot take care of them. Why did you have the children in the first place? We need to talk with these girls, talk with these girls, talk with these girls, and talk with the parents too. That's why I loved it when the first speaker mentioned that it concerns everybody, the parents, the boys, and the girls.
Right. Thank you for that feedback. And just to go back to Sami's question, I think Tatum Jaka is someone who's dealing with these scenarios on the ground. And Tatu, would you just clarify if just add something on Sami's last question? And the question was, is it normal for a lady to experience this the cycle in a span of just 2 weeks apart?
Yes, thanks for that question. When a girl is growing, or even others to some extent, we don't have maybe standard circles. The normal circle or the standard circle, which all of us are mostly aware, it is a 28-day cycle. That is what we call the regular cycle, the regular menstrual cycle, where you see your periods after every 28 days. But it's still, there are other people who have shorter cycles. And these shorter cycles may range from 14 days, that is 2 weeks, and even 21 days. And there are those who have longer cycles. Some people see their periods after 35 days or even 42 days. So when you see that, it is not abnormal. The only thing you need to understand the biology of menstruation. So this simply means by the time you are menstruating, your ovulation has already started. So within that period, you realize you have your periods. This is a question many times you've been having from children. They could ask you, okay, how comes I'm having my periods 4 times in a month? And when you calculate with her, you realize it is after every 2 weeks. So it is good to educate the children to understand the biology of the menstruation and that we are not the same. And especially for young people, most of them, their periods are not regular. They are the ones who are experiencing irregular periods, unless there are other issues, but that one can be normal. And as they grow up, they'll end up having stable cycles, the ones we call regular menstrual cycles. So it is normal to some people. Although all of us or most of us are used to 28 days, but we have those for 42 and 41, 21, 35, and the 28. So it is normal. It is individual again. It is not standard. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Tatu, for that explanation. I think we have all learned we are different human beings. And kindly just mute when you're not talking, please. All right. Thank you so much. I think we are done with our Q&A session, and I'd like Steve to come back, and the floor is yours, Steve. I think my work is done now.
Wow.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marian.
All right.
We want to first appreciate every speaker who's spoken today. And I believe all of us have been impacted with a lot of knowledge on this area. We want to thank them that they found time to just be with us and just dispense this information to us. And I also want to appreciate the participants who were able to just bring their ideas and questions into this, and also acknowledge that the men have not been left out, because I was able to notice that people like Sami and Didan were able to bring some questions, also bringing to the light that men are still part of this conversation and they are doing everything they can to be able to ensure that the girls have been helped. Probably you're asking yourself why we do this. What do we want to achieve at the end of the day with this online program that we do every month on menstrual health? So what we actually want to achieve, that is in partnership with With Foundation, the Net Plus, is one, we want to be able to dispense the right information on menstrual health and just create awareness on the issues that surround menstrual health. And two, to be able to raise the capacity of both individuals, organizations, families, so that they can be able to bring adequate solutions to the problems that occur. Number three, we also want to demystify. We want to demystify the theories that we hold. We want to demystify the myths that are there that surround menstrual hygiene, and also just the menstrual uh, uh, conversation. Then the great thing again, we want to be able to bring men into this conversation, because men as well contribute to greatly into the lives of young girls and women that are there. And the most and the greatest of them all is we want to be able to provide alternative and available solutions on issues concerning pads. We want to make pads available for everyone to be able to get them, and especially for girls who are living under adverse conditions and situations that they are not able to get uh, pads and any other um, uh, equipment that they can use, like tampons and reusable towels. So that is what we aim to achieve, and that is what NetPlus and GWIS are doing, so that we can be able to ensure that our girls are in school and that their lives continue normally, even when they are having their monthly periods. So my sincere gratitude to everyone who was able to find time and join us. We really appreciate your support. We really appreciate that you found time to be with us. We want to thank the two organizations that have worked so hard. We want to thank our founder, Cheryl, from NetPlus, and also we want to thank Marion from With Foundation. We want to thank you that you've been able to partner with us. At this particular time, I think I want to welcome Justin Gimigu to close with a word of prayer so that we can all leave. Justin?
Steve, just before we pray,
yes,
I just want to add something a little bit, and I'd like Lydia Cowell to say something.
Okay.
She has been having some issues with connection. Lydia, please, you're welcome. Just before we pray.
Sure.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Lydia?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Steve, and thank you, Marion. Sorry, guys, I had some problems with my internet, but I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you learned as much as I did, and I want to thank people from Lund who have been with us since we started this session. So, yeah, I think that's it from me. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. And for today, we didn't say where we're logging in from, but I can see people are from West Africa, Kenya, South Africa as well, and we have people from Sweden. Thank you so much, guys, and let us have the prayer, please.